You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Hey everybody, Spencer here. I just want to announce that Laura, Michael, and I are going to be taking just a little bit of a break here. We're not going to leave you with nothing. Actually, some of our listeners have mentioned that they didn't even realize we covered multiple theories in our earlier episodes. So we're going to reach way back there, pull out some of those theories that you may have missed, and republish them here, whether as a refresher or as an introduction to these fascinating fan theories. We'll be back with new episodes in just a couple of weeks.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Fan Theory Queries, where we analyze fan theories from all over the internet, but mostly Reddit. I'm Laura.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Spencer.
Daffy Duck has brain damage.
Oh no.
From Braden Best.
Who hurt you, Braden?
Braden had a lot of time on their hands. So in the 1938 short Daffy Duck and Egghead, one of Daffy's first appearances, Daffy decides to sing a song explaining his origin story. The song is none other than The Merry-Go-Round Broke Down, which the tune of is then carried out through not Merry Melodies, but Looney Tunes as the theme song of the show that you always hear whenever it starts up. You'll recognize the tune here. Here we go. The lyrics reveal a tragic backstory. My name is Daffy Duck. I worked on a merry-go-round. The job was swell. I did quite well till the merry-go-round broke down. Hoo-hoo! 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 The guy that worked with me was a horse with a lavender eye. Around in whirls we winked at girls till the merry-go-round broke down. And then he plays a flute, and I kind of like to pretend like it's in the style of Lizzo, and he's twerking at the same time. And it kind of is if you watch the cartoon. You can find it on YouTube. Okay. Up and down and round it we sped. That dizzy pace soon went to my head. Now you know why I'm dizzy and do the things I do. I am askew and you'd be too if the merry-go-round broke down. Hoo-hoo! 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 If the merry-go-round broke down.
Well done.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Bravo.
Thank you. I like that we have the flavor text or like the description of the cartoon included in here. When he's holding out the note for broke, his neck stretches out really long so that, normal modern Daffy, he has a white line around his neck. But in the classic cartoon, so in 38, he had a blue line and his neck stretches out so much that there's like 10 different blue lines on his neck. All right. So coming off of that, this implies that Daffy is quote unquote screwy because of a past head injury. Basically, he worked at a carnival and was in charge of the merry-go-round. Business must have been slow that day because he and his co-worker, the horse with the lavender eye, decided to take it for a joyride and flirt with passersby. But just then, the ride had a malfunction and sped out of control, and Daffy was never the same. Daffy Duck is a victim of careless workplace conditions.
OSHA!
Somebody call Toby.
Yeah. Pretty much every incarnation of Daffy has a screw loose, whether it manifests in his, quote, bounce away and hoot routine. Oh, that's classic. I haven't seen that in a while. Which the OP is attributing to a possible Tourette's syndrome, which incidentally can be brought on by head trauma. Or being, quote, not quite there, as in the Looney Tunes show. In his Looney Tunes show incarnation, he's not stupid. He's intelligent, but has a short attention span, short-term memory problems, and has trouble communicating, often not quite comprehending what other people are saying or making wild assumptions and being completely shocked when he finds out that they weren't actually on the same page.
So ADHD.
And whatever happened to the horse? I've never seen a horse with purple eyes in any Looney Tunes short. If Daffy survived the accident and came out of it with a trauma-induced neurological disorder, maybe his coworker has fared worse.
Oh, no.
Daffy's lucky to be alive.
That's great.
Oh, I love these kinds of fan theories that people take what could, theoretically, it should be a very simple thing and dwell on it to the point that they come up with this and find this contextual evidence to support it. I'm eating good right now. Okay. So do you want to give me some thoughts real quick before I read some comments? Initial thoughts.
Initial thoughts are that I don't know how I want to play this. I think it's interesting that we have this origin story. We don't get many origin stories for cartoon characters, and that it's in the form of a song that is also, coincidentally or not, used for the remainder of the existence of the Looney Tunes. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe it means much more than we think it does, because that it is used so much and that it was featured and we know the words. I don't know, this might be have some weight to it.
Yeah, I mean, to me it's really sad. It's a sad theory, but honestly, it would explain a lot with Daffy's character.
Because, I'm trying to think of all the Looney Tunes, and I mean, they're Looney Tunes, that's why they have that name.
Yeah.
And they all have their quirks, right? But from what I can think, he is the only one that really seems like a loon. Especially like the jump up and down. The way he can just go,
and bounce thing.
Yeah. Everyone else seems to kind of
devil.
Well, but he's like crazy. An animal.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, so is Daffy Duck. He's an animal.
He's more of an animal.
He's more like, that basic instinct animal. What was it they called it in Zootopia when they're being primal? Maybe it's their primal brain. He has more of a primal brain. Daffy Duck is he is intelligent. OP talked about that. Yeah, he's a pretty smart fellow.
Well, if you think about it, all of the characters have some sort of thing that makes them a little crazy, and all of them have some sort of thing that kind of gives them a little bit of a speech impediment in one way or another. Like Porky Pig stutters, Foghorn Leghorn, he has to have a long
he stutters too,
drawl,
doesn't he?
And he stutters a little bit, yeah.
Sylvester has a lisp.
Yeah.
And Daffy. Tweety Bird
Tweety
can't
has
say
a
his
Tweety.
R's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bugs Bunny doesn't have one, right?
He has that's an accent.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah. Most of them do. Not all of them, but yeah. Go. Let's continue.
Okay, why don't we go on to some comments? This might stir up some more for us. So Acrobatic Dot 1634 said, one could point out the mean and greedy Daffy, but even this one has a certain, quote, strange air about him, and brain damage can also lead to increased aggression. So true. Frontal lobe trauma leads to that. Next is, first of all, Chowdare. Sorry, OP, this commenter is Chowdare, but I just wanted to say Chowdare. I don't know what this version of Daffy would be called, but my, quote, default version of Daffy was usually surly, competitive, and confrontational. Think duck season, rabbit season attitude. Like the scene we acted out. This was the version that would appear in 99% of the Daffy episodes seen in that compilation show that apparently changes its name from time to time. I think they're talking about when it goes back and forth between Merry Melodies and Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
In the 90s, it was called the Bugs Bunny and Tweety Show and was mainly filled with shorts from the 50s and 60s. I wonder if this version had any brain damage. I remember it being very jarring to me seeing how he was represented in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, because the version seen there was the, quote, bounce away and hoot version. I guess this would be Daffy Prime, since he was the original wacky version that you're talking about.
So is Chowdare essentially saying that there are variants of Daffy now?
That's what it sounds
Maybe.
like. Yes.
There's multiversal versions. I love that. Okay, and so OP comes back and is going to respond to all these comments here of, I feel it's important to point out that brain damage doesn't come in just one form. Brain damage is just damage to the brain. Brain damage can lead to all sorts of neurological disorders, memory issues, loss of cognitive function, seizures, death, etc. It's not out of the realm of possibility for someone to receive head trauma and come out of it with rage/jealousy issues that they didn't have before. For example, truth be told, I consider the version of Daffy from the 40s through the 60s to be as screwy as the others, just in more subtle ways. He's unhinged, hot-headed, narcissistic, and regularly shows signs of borderline personality disorder. And nowhere is this made more clear than in the short where Daffy is tormented by the animator. That's exactly what I was thinking when I started reading this paragraph, when he's on a blank page and then he'll get drawn, like he has a flower head at one point. And Daffy's tormented by the animator to the point of being erased, leaving only his voice. No matter how far the animator pushed him, Daffy remained distinctly Daffy. The animator could take away everything except his identity. So we've got a little timeline here. 30s, completely loony. 40s to 60s, unhinged, rage issues. And then the Looney Tunes show, attention and memory problems. It's also important to note that the characters each evolved. Bugs wasn't always the cool and confident embodiment of karma that he is. Sometimes he was sadistic and went out of his way to screw with people who did nothing to him. Audiences didn't like it, so the Schlesinger team adapted. Likewise, when fleshing out Daffy, he may have started out angry and competitive after the redesign, but as the years go by, he gets more and more unhinged. The thing with Daffy is that they wanted his craziness to be subtle and believable, like someone you might actually find in the wild. What? Okay, that's how he goes from hoot hoot to jealous rage machine to unhinged to that one friend with the attention span of a goldfish. I love that sentence. Okay. Man. All of these iterations have one thing in common. They're dysfunctional, like the Hoot Hoot incarnation, or barely functional, like the Looney Tunes show incarnation. Oh my gosh. That's the best sentence I think I've ever read in a theory or even in a comment. From Hoot Hoot to jealous rage machine to unhinged to that one friend with the attention span of a goldfish. That's excellent. Yes. Oh, wow. Does that help fuel any feelings towards ratings for you guys?
Yeah, I think it's helped me kind of solidify and lock down what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, I like that. Oh, can I like that this guy did give us a timeline, and I think it's possible maybe that if you do have an injury, it develops, changes you over time, how your body might adjust to it. So that's just something else to think about as well.
I think that's true, that with some traumatic brain injuries, so for like in the professional sports world, it's a progression. You can get the injury at a certain point in time. It might not start showing signs until like 20 years later, and then it progressively increases. Same thing with things like Tourette's. I've recently learned that you can develop Tourette's, and then it can go away and resolve on its own, or it can just go away for a little while and it can go back and forth. So yes, all these behaviors, the brain is just still such an enigma to us that, these things can come and go.
The highest rating that we have is Genius. This is reserved for only the best theories, which we believe are better than the actual canon. The next step down is Plausible. It's a good theory, it's believable. Unlikely is next. It's not a terrible theory, but pretty unlikely, as the name suggests. And then the last thing is Preposterous. These are the theories that are just stupid. Basically, we're all dumber for having listened to them.
So Michael, do you want to start us out with ratings on this one?
Sure. I think I am going to rate this one as plausible, just with all the evidence provided. It just makes sense to me. I don't think it's quite to the Genius level. I don't know if I prefer this to actual canon, but like this, I could see where a lot of people could think that this is actually the truth. So yeah, I'm giving it a straight plausible.
Kim, Mike, or Spencer?
I agree that I believe this is plausible. The reason why I'm not going for Genius is because ultimately, I don't know if cartoon Looney Tunes need like a backstory, an origin story for why they are the way they are. Yeah. But I think that if we want to say that this is the same Daffy from the 30s, it's a great explanation.
It is the
for
Daffy
that.
from the 30s. This is from 1938.
I know, that's what I'm saying. If we're going to say that that the one we see today and throughout time is the same one,
They're all
like
the
they didn't
same
like
one.
reboot him or something, all the same one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is
Daffy
a great way
Prime.
to see that he was in a merry-go-round accident, which is as tragic as they come, and he hurts his head. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, we have decades of entertainment for it.
Now, see, I was waiting
But yes,
for one of you to bring up all of the injury that he endures before our eyes over those
well,
decades,
you
and
bring
why
that up.
that didn't
You
have
talk
any
about it.
kind of... No, because I'm going to say that this is genius, and I like it the way
Or
it is.
Sylvester, like getting the big bump on their head going up.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
And so I think it's genius, particularly if you can take a specific thing from an actual episode as your evidence. And that's pretty solid evidence to me. And the way they posited that, I think that was great writing as far as OP putting out their theory. So I like it.
Can I change
I think
my
it
rating?
fits.
I want to say it's
So
genius too.
I'm going genius. Yes, you can definitely say it's genius,
Okay.
Spencer.
Okay.
All right.
Because
change the
there's
record
nothing.
book. He's genius.
Yeah, I'm changing it to genius because there's nothing that really refutes it. Because there's no way you really can. It's not like there's an episode where he says, "You know what? I'm just the way that I am. I never had brain damage when I was younger." So it's a great explanation that never gets disproven. So sure, genius. He is the way he had a merry-go-round accident, and
There you
I
go.
feel really sorry for his horse friend that didn't make it.
Oh, the horse with the lavender eyes.
So this is the time of the show where we want to take a serious moment to reach out to anyone who knows any merry-go-round accident victims. Please feel free to call 1-800-BRAIN-DEAD and you'll get the support that you need. Fan Theory Queries is part of the Airwave Media Podcast Network. Visit airwavemedia.com to listen and subscribe to their other fine shows like Good Job Brain, Monster Talk, and the Pirate History Podcast.